This is a cocked hat, and it is most probably the most iconic of symbols of the entirety of the 18th century. So let's talk about it for a little bit. Now, many of us, I'm sure, were a little bit thrown off by the term that I just used. Well, surely this is a tricorn, not a cocked hat. What is that supposed to mean? This is a tricorn. That's what everyone knows it as. That's what all the films and our schools and the books and everything, that's what they always refer to these things as. So a tricorn, surely. And after all, look at it. Three corners, tri-cornered hat, tricorn, it makes sense, tricorn. Well, yes, indeed, it is a tricorn, but that is actually a later designation. It's more 19th century terminology for this sort of hat. Indeed, in the 18th century, the more appropriate term would be cocked hat. So, you know, both of the words work, it's just one of them is more authentic to the 18th century, which is the period that I portray and, you know, the reason why I have this thing to begin with. Of course, the actual name, it's fairly straightforward, easy to see where the name comes from. Tricorn, the fact that there are three or tri-corners to the thing, tri-cornered hat, all that. And as for a cocked hat, it's basically the exact same thing. It starts off as a flat-brimmed cap, you know, very wide-brimmed all around, and the shape is gotten by folding or cocking up three of the different sides there. So, again, cocked hat, simple name. It is made out of a very hard wool felt, so, you know, it's very stiff, the cap. They're very hard things, and if I were to, you know, come to the brim there, I can knock on it pretty tough there. It's, you know, it is a stiff design, but because it is wool felt, it is still able to be shaped, you know, and still able to be, to change in shape, if you will. You'll notice that the three corners here are not just, incidentally, this little hole here is completely Farby in every way you can potentially imagine. That's where I put my GoPro. You know, I put the GoPro camera just inside, you know, right. Where is it? Oh, there we are. I put it there, just in front of the hole there, so it looks out, and I'm able to get my first-person camera views. But what was I saying? Yes, the three sides here, they aren't just folded up and then hardened into place. They don't just sit there like that. They're actually tied into place. You can sort of see the little bits of string going through there and holding everything in place to where if I look inside of the hat, naturally, of course, you have the actual hat liner, which helps to keep it nice and snug and more comfortable on the head. But we have the little, it's difficult to do with this camera angle, but yeah, you can sort of, oh my. There we are. You can see on the inside, haha, make to where you can still see me, the lacing there to where if I flip the hat around and I can untie inside, can I do this while you can still see it? Maybe? Yeah, not really, but I can untie the lacing here on the inside. Oh, let's see. Hey, there we are. And indeed, if I untie just one of those, the back here, for example, can be folded back down. And indeed, now, if it can get, you know, it can get a little used to from being folded like that, but you can still flip it down. Oh, if I can get it to actually stay. Usually it can. Having some difficulty with it now for some reason, but in any case, yes. It can be folded all the way down. Come on now. When it was raining last time, I had a little bit of better luck with that. But yes, it can be folded down, and indeed, should it be raining, perhaps, or perhaps a particularly sunny day. Oh, there we go. Or a particularly sunny day, all of a sudden you can flip the hat around, fold the bottom down, and you have a lovely sun visor. So you can see the front of the cap there, same exact design. But yes, nice and dramatic looking now. I feel like some sort of a Spanish conquistador or something. But yes, fairly straightforward there. Indeed, this is actually the sort of thing that a lot of light infantrymen, especially during the later years of the war, you know, Southern campaign, very bright, sunny, you know, terrible environments, you know, you can make alterations to your cap, fold it down, and all of a sudden it really does help to keep the sun out of your eyes. Indeed, at the most recent reenactment, not the most recent one, but the second to most recent one, the Battle of Monmouth, you can see on Sunday's battle, the first-person footage that I have, the rest of the men of the 54th actually did turn their caps around and fold the top of them down to keep the sun out of their eyes. I kept my hat on normally because I wanted to be able to use the GoPro on the other side, but everyone else got to have ample protection from the sun. Indeed, actually, I very recently used this exact same feature with my cocked hat at the, what was it? Oh, don't I feel dramatic like this? But what was it? The Battle of, Fort Ticonderoga, of course. Fort Ticonderoga on Sunday morning. It was raining. It was raining quite a great deal, actually. And I was sitting in my car. I got a hotel for the event. I cheated a little bit with that one. But sitting in my car looking at the rain thinking, oh God, I don't want to have to get my coat out and the gun and just have to get all kitted up basically in the rain before walking, stopping what already, all the way over to the camp just to go into the tent and, already be wet. But then I thought, oh wait, it's not that big of a deal. Actually, I put the hat on, turned it around, untied, flipped down, and now my face isn't getting wet at all. It made the whole process much, much nicer. And of course, all of the other sides there as well could be folded down in the exact same way. A lot of times you'll see in artwork and the like, again, light infantrymen later on in the war, not wearing cocked hats or indeed the light infantryman's helmet that they would normally be issued, early on in the war, but they are wearing cocked hats with all sides except for one cocked all the way down to where it's sort of a slouch cap looking design there. Again, cocked hat, but you are able to make adjustments as you will depending on the environment and the way that you'd like it to work. With that said, I will just poke these little bits of string here, back through the holes here. Simple enough process, and I can tie them back up. So just give me a few short moments here as I put the hat back into place. All right, so the back of the hat is put back on. Again, just sort of tie the lace right inside. Simple, clean, very easy thing that you can really do very quickly in the field should the situation arise, and then you can do it back up if you have to go on to parade or some such, and the officers want everyone to look proper. What else do we have about the hat that I can talk about? Some more things about the very basic design. This white tape all along the outside. The hat isn't painted or something to look white. It is, as you can see, a separate bit of material there. It's called tape, or it's referred to as tape, that lines the entirety of the outside. Doesn't really serve a purpose to my knowledge. It really is just a nice little bit of design. It is kept in place, which I don't know if you can really see it there, but it is sewn into place, which actually it's a little bit short on this side, so if I were to flip it around, you can see there the bit of sewing that actually keeps the tape in place. Actually, now that I think about it, it might actually help to prevent some fraying on the ends of the cap, where the wool felt just sort of ends. It might be a useful way to sort of cap that off and prevent things from fraying or getting torn or whatever. That might be the case. I'm not entirely sure, but as usual, if there is some fascinating new revelation regarding the purpose of the tape, I'll be sure to leave it in the description down below. But yes, the lovely white tape there, which is sewn onto the outside. Not all cocked hats have white tape like that. This is sort of a British military thing, but a lot of civilian cocked hats, you'll notice, do not have any such design like this. Similarly, as well, the cocked hat, being a military piece of headgear, also has a cockade here, which is kept in place. This here is the cockade, this black bit of ribbon. You can see in officers and the like, they can come in all sorts of different colors, but for a mere enlisted, private scum, simply a black cockade. It is kept in place with a piece of regimental lace. You see the green stripe there down the lacing. It's sort of specific, this pattern is, to the 54th Regiment of Foot. That's another video topic for another day, I think, talking about regimental coats and lacing and all that sort of thing. But we also have there a regimental button. You can see the 5-4, again, the 54th Regiment of Foot, very particular to this regiment, as well as the lace. So it's, this is a 54th specific hat, if you will, although you could very well just tear this lace off and replace a button and make it any other regiment. But if I simply take the lace and undo it from the button there, we can flip that up, and that is our cockade. So actually, if I set this down temporarily, just to show you this, it is quite simply just a piece of, not ribbon, but cloth, if you will, that is just a nice little bit of design. Again, to my knowledge at least, I don't think they ever did serve some sort of efficient or effective purpose, maybe historically way back when, before cocked hats were a thing, but the sort of the origin point for even these, maybe there was some sort of a purpose in having the cloth there, but to my knowledge, there is no such. It is purely just decoration up there. Indeed, there were some armies, indeed the Continental Army was one of them, that would actually use cockades as one of numerous designations of rank. Again, you can color the cockade, be like, oh, that's a red cockade, he's more important than I am, so I will salute, that sort of thing. I don't know if the British Army did that sort of thing. The Continentals did it because they didn't have a lot of money to actually supply too many uniform bits, and a lot of them were running short on supplies as far as making uniforms. So a different colored cockade was a very quick and simple way to determine, oh, he's a major, he's a captain, things like that. But I don't know about other armies. I'd be curious to know if other armies use different colored cockades for to distinguish rank and whatnot. But yes, cockade, nice little bit of detail there. We talked about the tape. The 54th, so dignifiedly, in such a dignified fashion, refers to, the 54th does, as the pom-poms, simple little doodads here which hang off the side of the cap. Again, no real reason for them to be there. You can see just, if I can actually flip it around in a way that you can see there. All right, that works. That works. It is a sort of the end there, yes, haha, there, of some of the lacing that goes down, or some of the whatever you want to call this stuff that comes down, ending in the little pom-pom there. Just a really, again, just a little bit of decor, makes the entire thing look a little bit nicer, a bit more frilly in a way, but that's the way it goes. And that bit of ribbon sort of goes all around, you see, there on the brim of the hat, and back up there. Yeah, simple enough. What else is there to mention about you, my friend? Cocked hats, cocked hats. I think that's pretty much it. Aha, yes, there is indeed one more thing that I forgot to mention regarding the cocked hat, which honestly is really quite impressive, considering this is actually the entire reason why I wanted to make this video in the first place. Now, of course, when you first clicked on this video, you noticed that I was wearing the cocked hat like this. But this looks a little strange, doesn't it? It's off to the side. It's askew. Surely this is the way that a man should wear a cocked hat. And indeed, if I were portraying an officer or a gentleman, or really any civilian of any sort at all, yes, indeed, I would want to wear my cocked hat like this, straight on forward, with the main point coming to sort of the bridge right, over my nose. It's very centered, really completes the appearance, if you will. It suits well with the frame of one's body. This is the way that you're supposed to wear a cocked hat. And yet military men, private enlisted soldiers, would always wear them like this. Indeed, if you ever see a soldier in a reenactment wearing his hat in the field straight like that, there's something a little off there, odds are. A soldier should wear his cocked hat sideways like this. Now, why is that the case? Because you may sit there and think, oh, well, maybe it's like a forage cap or a palotka or something like that, where you wear it askew or off to the side as sort of a military fashion type thing. That's just sort of, what the men would do because it's what they do. It looks better, they think, but not exactly. So if I were to take my musket here, a soldier would always be with his piece, of course. I realize that if I were to come to the shoulder here, I think that I would end up hitting the ceiling. So rather undignified, but I'm going to stoop down a little bit like this. Let's say, all right, I am kneeling for whatever strange reason on parade. Oh, I'm on parade, therefore I must come to the half-cock. Of course, I'm on parade. And the command comes to shoulder your firelocks. And, 1, 2, 3, all the different stuff. And eventually I come up and... I'm having a bit of difficulty there. And, a position of a soldier under arms, my left eye should actually be a little bit to the right. I should be parallel with the buttons of my waistcoat. And yet, I cannot turn my head because my hat is preventing me from doing so. But, well, careful there. If I were to take my hat and turn it just a little bit to the side, to where now the lacing there is just above my eyes, and giving a lovely angle for the GoPro. It's really quite convenient that they did this historically. Now, if I wear the hat just a little bit sideways like that, and again the command comes to shoulder your firelocks, 1, 2, 3, 4, da, 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 and I come to the shoulder, all of a sudden, I am able to, more or less at least, I can't go as much, still without sort of hitting the head, but I am able to freely move my head all around while wearing the hat. So yes, indeed, that is the main reason why soldiers would always be wearing their hats sideways. If you ever see a soldier who gets very hot under that thing very, very quickly, which isn't very fun when you're out in the sun, but, you know, it's easier than a bearskin. You can just sort of doff your cap. It's much easier than a bearskin in that way. But, yes, if you ever see a soldier in the field wearing his hat like this, something's a little weird. Something's a bit off there. Odds are he ought to have his hat like this. So then, now, that is all that I wanted to say about the cocked hat, until, of course, I stop recording, and I'm sure I will think of plenty of other things that I can mention regarding the thing. But, yes, indeed, it is quite an interesting little piece of history, interesting little doodad. Again, one of the most iconic images in the entirety of the 18th century, and yet so little understood oftentimes with how the things were made up and how alterable they were in the field, that sort of thing. I do hope that we enjoyed the video, and of course, until the next time, my dear viewers, I am, and I shall remain your most humble, oh, didn't that work perfectly, and obedient of servants.